4 minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. One minute until showtime. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one, pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. That is 914-803-4131. I do have two callers on hold. Just make sure if you want to also go on hold, you can just go to liberaldanradio.com, put your name in the chat over there, or on twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. I don't usually follow the chat over in Blog Talk Radio land. We just use that for the phone lines and when they work, and the soundboard. So if you want to support the show, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, follow on Twitch. You can become a Twitch subscriber for free if you have Amazon Prime. It doesn't cost you anything. Just got to hook your Prime gaming account into your Twitch account, and then you can do it every month. You have to do the process every month because it doesn't automatically renew for you, but you know, it is what it is. You can subscribe over on YouTube as well, become a Danimal, become a member, a little as $2 a month, some of them more. You can gift subscriptions, buy super chats, super stickers, bits over there on Twitch as well. You can also go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider button, or go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio for one-time support. One-time support at Venmo as well, at liberaldan on Venmo. You can always go to patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way will get you there to support the show on a monthly level. In the chat, we got TV2 Live, Aaron, Nick, Allison, Manasseh, Mountain Lady, TV2, Jeff, Alton, Mad Mac. Good to see Chad's here as well. Good to see everybody here. Manasseh says this is going to be a good show. I'm sure you think so. Yes. Basically, the biggest news of them all is that shortly thereafter, after I ended my stream last night, they had called Pennsylvania for Trump, and then it was done because he was going to win Alaska and he was going to get the one, I guess, for Maine, and that put him at 270, and then he's gotten more and more after that. And we're going to go into a bunch of reasons as to why. We're going to go into some criticisms of the left, of people on the left side of the political spectrum as well. We don't discriminate here. We will go against the people on the left and give them their due criticisms, as I said in the new show intro. If you like the new show intro, if you're on YouTube, make sure to smash the 100 or hearts in the chat to use that little button. Get some whatchamacallit, algorithms flowing there by hitting that heart button. If you like that the new intro to the show, that new intro to the show will be around through until Thanksgiving, and then we'll do our typical War on Christmas intro between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then we'll return back to this one unless I think of another one I want to do first. So that's all of the stuff. One person dropped off the call. Was this the second person or the first one? Let me look up the area code real quick just to see if it's the let's see. That is not the one. I think that's Big Hook. So we'll head on over here in a second. Yes, Alton Gillespie. Yes, as I said, sexism and racism won the day. That's what I've been saying all day. It's what I was saying last night. And we're going to go into some go into the hard numbers, at least those hard numbers that we have currently, because some of the races are still not finished counting, and that's fine. Stop counting. Some of the races aren't finished counting, but the races where we know the results are, we're going to go over some of the numbers and explain why a lot of them are rooted in sexism based on who got what votes. Some of them rooted in racism as well. But basically, America voted for a sexist, bigot, sexual abuser, con artist to be our next president again. And we're a laughing stock of the international community. There are people apparently who saw it coming, but you know, I didn't think the American electorate would fail us this bad, and we'll go into that sometimes soon as well. But let's get to our caller. Is this Big Hook? Is it not? Who is this caller? What's your name? Where are you from?
No, this is Manasseh. How you doing?
Oh, Manasseh, how's it going? I thought for some reason the area code I was thought it was Big Hook, but it's not. All right, so we're going to Manasseh first. So I guess you're having a good day today.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm not coming on here to, none of that negativity. It's all peace and love here, and I'm trying to be understanding of people, and so I'm not coming here trying to, cause any issues. But I just wanted to ask, did you at any point in the build-up felt like Trump had a legitimate shot at winning, or did you feel like Kamala was going to win, or Kamala was going to win the whole time?
I never begrudged the American public to shoot themselves in the foot. So
Okay.
I because America voted for Donald Trump once against a woman, i.e., Hillary Clinton, it was always in the back of my mind that America would vote for Donald Trump against Vice President Harris because she's a woman. In and of that, I mean, there's it's we're going to go over some of those numbers later, but yeah, I mean, I knew it was a possibility. I mean, he got he got the second most votes of a president in the history of the country, only compared to Joe Biden in the last election. So there's lots of people who supported him, and while there were some people who may have decided, okay, I've had enough of Trump, they were making that, I guess, smart push to reach out to the Joe Rogan listeners of the world, and to the young single men who just some people might call them dude bros, other people might call that, might have other names for them, I don't know. But at the end of the day, these are people who at the end of the day believed what Donald Trump was selling them, and also didn't care about the other issues that were important, that were frankly terrifying the rest of the people. So
Yeah, if I could say, as far as the build-up, I thought after the first debate they had between Trump and Harris, I was convinced she was going to win. If you had asked me at that point, I was 100% sure she was going to win it.
mm-hmm.
She had all the momentum. She had all these great puff pieces in the media. I mean, she was being depicted as like a patron saint. It was unbelievable. And I was at that point, I was convinced. I wasn't even going to bother to vote. I thought, this is over. She's got it. I thought it was going to be
Mm-hmm.
a landslide. And I think that the changing point was at the VP debate. Now, I had no idea how Vance was going to do it. I thought Walz was going to win. I thought Vance absolutely killed Walz in that debate. Absolutely killed him. Not just as much as I would have said Trump totally failed against Kamala in the debate, and he was totally unprepared, and I thought he just ended his campaign that day. I thought Walz had a terrible performance. And at the time, I thought it wouldn't mean anything. It's just a VP debate. Who cares? But I started seeing the polls starting to shift a little bit. And then I thought the thing that really swung it was when she went on The View and was asked directly, what would you have done differently than Biden had you been president? And her answer was, nothing that I can think of. That clip went totally viral. And it was like from that point on, her poll number started to sink slowly but surely. And it just got people starting to ask questions, because prior to that, she was being perceived as this change candidate. And the perception from a lot of people that I talked to before that was, oh, had she been president, she wouldn't have done the things Biden had done. She would have done things differently. She's going to be a different type of president. So that clip then caused a lot of people to start to ask, okay, well, what is she really about? And then the questions of, why did you flip-flop on all your positions that you held in 2019? And I saw that all of a sudden people were viewing her in a critical lens. And when that started happening, he just made one mistake after another. And the thing that I think that put the actual death nail in her campaign was that CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper. Did you see that?
I did not watch the CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper, so I can't really comment on that one. On the question asked for President Harris, like, imagine like asking a sitting vice president what you would do differently when it comes to what your president is currently doing. You know what I mean? It's yeah. I mean, I think there were probably better ways to ask that question as to what her policy positions would be. You're not going to have a sitting vice president sit here and be openly critical of the sitting president. It's it's not going to happen. I mean, even when Donald Trump is saying ridiculous things, at the end of his term about stopping, either stopping the count or how Mike Pence should do all these things to when it comes to the Electoral College and counting of the votes or whatever. He wasn't very vocal in opposition to what Donald Trump was saying at all. He was simply just doing his duty. So, yeah, I mean, I think people might. I thought people were a little unreasonable for expecting a sitting vice president to be critical of the sitting president, and I think the View was kind of silly especially since the View is mostly on the left. For asking that question. But yeah, people are going to take from things that they hear what they want to hear, and they're going to be like, I think people made a much bigger deal about that comment than probably should have. But I mean, I don't know if that specific thing, if that was an unforced error on her part, or if that was just people hearing it and running with it. So,
and I would say it was the first thing to crack where she was at, because prior to that, she was dominating all the polls. She had all the momentum. Remember, at that point, her campaign was running on the whole Joy Warrior theme, and everything in the media about her was positive outside of Fox News. I mean, even when you turn on MSNBC, CBS, MSNBC, it was nothing. It was puff piece after puff piece. It was unbelievable. But then that's the first time I noticed people in the general public were starting to ask questions, and you could see the polls. They started to slip. But the CNN town hall was where her campaign ended, and I really recommend anyone who hasn't seen it to go back and watch it. What shocked me about it more than anything was how Anderson Cooper was pressing her. I was blown away. I never thought I'd ever see the day where a leading Democratic candidate for president would be asked questions that tough and be pressed on so many issues the way, especially by Anderson Cooper of all people, on that network. I never thought I'd see the day. He absolutely killed her on the border issue. He said to her, in regards to the border wall, because remember that bipartisan bill that they presented
right,
like a year ago?
Right.
In that bill, there's $650 million allocated to build the wall. And
right, because that was a compromise bill.
Right, but he asked her in the town hall. Anderson Cooper said to her, "In your previous statements, you called the wall a medieval vanity project. It was a waste of time. It was totally unnecessary." And he asked her then, "Why did you guys have that in the bill? Do you still view it as that?" And she just tripping over herself, couldn't answer it. And then eventually, as he continued to press her on it, she said, "Well, I'm not opposed to good ideas regardless of where it comes from." And so that was the general tone of that town hall, was Anderson Cooper pressing her on all these key issues, her struggling to answer it. And even David Axelrod, after the fact, on the panel, described it as word salad city. And
that's the strange thing, though. If I can interrupt, I mean, it's my show, but I'll interrupt for a second. Is that, again, yeah, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Democrats are expected to be perfect, and anytime a Democrat shows themselves as being less than perfect, everyone jumps on them. Donald Trump can have word salad all the live long day. Say hamburgers, say cheeseburgers, say write out confetti or whatever. United States, he mispronounced words left and right. Say that he had a big audience in front of him when there was no audience in front of him. He can misspeak all the time, and everyone's just like, oh, that's just Donald being Donald. It's a hypocritical double standard,
right?
Not just on the part of people who are in the electorate, but it's in the media. Like, and I'm planning on, being I have a little rant about one person in the media in particular. I posted a little bit about it on a short from last night, but yeah, like there's they always say Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. So when it comes to that, so if you say something that just makes a Democrat, a voter, go and not like, they're going to lose interest because they're going to fall less in love and not going to be pragmatic about their vote. So, as I didn't even read what Roxanne said in the chat on YouTube, but go ahead.
How could it be hypocritical if Trump never presented himself as an intellectual, as someone politically correct, or even as someone who was even religious or any of that. Like, he doesn't, like in the past, for example, let's say it was Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, for example, presented himself as this good guy, this saint, a Boy Scout, an intellectual. So if he were to like go out there and not be able to answer the questions or say stuff that was politically incorrect, it would blow up in his face because he's presenting himself in a certain light. Trump decided to basically double down on being as politically incorrect as possible and being basically an anti-intellectual. You know, and the media and the liberals love mocking him for being as dumb as he is, and obviously he's not. He's got a low IQ. We can all agree on that. He's not a
well, I mean,
political,
I don't think I said just Donald Trump, though. I think Republicans in general are allowed. I mean, I did say that's just Donald Trump being Donald Trump, but in general, just all Republicans are allowed to do those things and are given passes. While Democrats are given no passes. If they do one thing wrong, everybody jumps on it.
Who gave Trump a pass? Are you telling me the media has been extremely critical of Trump the last 9 years?
I mean, yes, the media has been critical of Trump, but they're still going to be like, oh, that's just Trump being Trump when he says stuff that's just silly or bizarre or what have you. Like, I mean, you might think that Donald Trump has a low IQ, but Donald Trump would probably tell you, I have the best brain, nobody has a better brain. Because he says that same freaking thing over and over and over again. And nobody calls him on it. Nobody sits there and says this is a severe.
That's not true.
Not enough. They don't say this is a kindergarten logic from the person who's going to be the next president of the United States. It's
okay. How about this? Let me ask you this: Is it okay for people to be critical of Harris and want to know what her actual positions are, or to want to understand why she's changed on so many positions, or at least 15 that she held in 2019 that she has now?
It's fair for that, but they should be asking the same questions on and when Trump hasn't gotten as much
and they do
pushback.
Any time Trump has, for example, Trump did a CNN town hall, right, with Katie Collins, correct? And now, was Katie Collins critical of him? Was she pressing him on multiple fronts?
I didn't watch any of the CNN town halls. It's just I
did.
Okay,
I'm just saying. Let's contrast the two town halls. They both did individual town halls on CNN, and both were pressed. I mean, Katie Collins is clearly no Trump sycophant or fan. Obviously, she's extremely hostile to him, and she went at him, and rightly so. If my thing is with the media, if they're going to be critical of Trump and press him and go at him on all whole issues, that's totally fair, as long as they do the same thing to the Democrat. What a lot of conservatives complain about is oftentimes they see Republicans being pressed and Democrats being given softballs and not be pressed that much, which is why I said I was shocked how hard Anderson Cooper went at Harris on that town hall. I couldn't believe it. And conservatives around the country were blown away. People's jaws were on the floor. No one thought they'd see the day where a Democrat would be tested like that by CNN. And she was. That's why I really recommend you looking at it.
CNN is not controlled by a more conservative mind anyway. So perhaps there was required things that had to do.
Anderson Cooper.
But still, Anderson Cooper probably still had maybe things that were required to ask him. I don't know. We do have two other callers on the line, so I do have to cut this off short. But any last words before we move on to the next caller and the next subject?
Yeah, I just want to say for everyone who's bought into this idea that Trump's Hitler and he's a fascist, I just want to say this. The leadership of the Democrat Party, they don't believe that for 1 second. Not one of them do. Because if they did, when the assassination attempt went down, they would not have been offering him well wishes and thoughts and prayers. They sort of celebrated the shooter as a national hero that was trying to save the country. None of them did that. At the Al Smith dinner, Chuck Schumer would not have been sitting next to Trump, yucking it up the whole time, laughing and joking with him. He wouldn't have done that. So if your leadership, their conduct shows you they don't believe their own propaganda. They don't believe he's a fascist. They don't believe he's the second coming of Hitler. They just say that to try to generate fear to convince the base to go out and vote. Because the actual reality of the matter is this. Biden's presidency was not good. The polls show the country's unhappy with his handling of the economy, inflation, illegal immigration, and foreign policy. Every poll has backed that up. And that's why his approval ratings have been so low. And so the reality is the Democrats could not run on that record. And so they have to go to the Trump is the Orange Man Band campaign, and that
All
he's
right. Well, I have
evil
a
and try
couple
to
of comments
scare
to
you
make
to
on
have them
that.
vote.
Again, I want to thank you for your call. We do have to get to the other
Okay.
callers. Appreciate it. On a couple of things that you did say just before I get to the next few callers, the economy is the best economy post COVID in the world. Inflation, we have not suffered as inflation as much as everyone else has suffered in the world, and inflation has dropped so very low at this point in time. Now, prices are still elevated because inflation builds on itself. But that being said, that people are wrong it doesn't say that the Biden administration was failed. The Biden administration was a success. I mean, we have Biden doing infrastructure projects, not just for his supporters, but in the middle of rural red Louisiana. And he gets no credit for it because when the governor of Louisiana says, oh, we're doing Gumbo 2.0 to spread wireless or spread broadband or whatever to the people of Louisiana, he doesn't say, and thank you, President Biden, for pushing this and making this happen. No, he just takes all of the credit for himself. That's what many Republican governors do. That's what many Republican congressmen and senators do. They will shove bills full of things that help their districts and then vote against the bill. And then they'll take credit for shoving the things that helps the districts in the bill and also take credit for voting against the bill. So it's that. As it comes to Trump being... I didn't need the DNC to tell me that Donald Trump was Hitler 2.0. I knew Donald Trump was Hitler 2.0 back in 2016 when he started using the terms lying press, when he started using Adolf Hitler said Lügenpresse, that was his term for it, when Donald Trump scapegoated an entire ass religion on, Muslims at the time, he wanted to do a total and complete ban of Muslims entering this country. You scapegoating entire religion is Nazi playbook 101. So I don't need the people who are in charge of the DNC to tell me what I see plain as day, especially when he's in front of a conference on anti-Semitism run by Jews saying, if I lose, it's the fault of the Jews. How can that be anything but anti-Semitic? So no, no, I don't need the DNC to tell me anything about Donald Trump that he hasn't already revealed from us, and to many, if not most or all, of the people who voted for Donald Trump. Those things are as plain as day to see. You're either choosing to willfully ignore it, just be willfully ignorant of it, or have decided that those comments and those statements and those scapegoating of minority religions and those actions that have done that are harmful to people are not a big a deal enough for you, and you're going to vote for what he's selling you. And what he's selling you is a load of bunk, because you're not going to get what you're going to get, and we're going to talk about that in a second. We do have two other callers. Let's go to the first caller first. I don't know if this is Chad or not, so we're going to flop over to this one. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where are you from? JBR, you're the second caller?
Is it me?
Yeah, that's you.
Oh, hey,
Who's
it's Chad. How are you doing?
Oh, that's Chad. Okay. So you said second caller, and I saw that two. You're actually the third caller, JBR. So Chad, what's going on?
Hey, so I was just trying to ponder over these vote numbers, right? So it looks like Trump, from the last time I checked, will probably exceed his vote count from 2020, right? But the Democrats are down, last time I checked, like 15 to 20 million votes, somewhere around that general number. So how much do you attribute the fault going to the Democrats? And then in the same breath, would you also say that by them not showing up and not voting, that would be sexist and misogynistic and racist as well, coming from the opposite side?
Don't bury my lead, dude. I mean, that's part of the point that I'll be making in a little bit. Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, bro.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Like it's stuck in my craw, and I'm like, all these, and I get it, man. It's I didn't even decide until I went in and voted. Like, I didn't want either one of them. And my opinion is that, the Democrats shot themselves in the foot in a couple of ways. Biden could have got out earlier, and she could have made it, right? But the thing is that you literally had the first place winner of the primaries paired with the last place winner of the primaries, the first person out. And I get it that, the country voted to have her in case, if something happened to Joe, we'll go with her. Like, I got all of that, but at the same time, like, the people did choose. I understand what you're saying, but there's a lot of Democrats out there that feel like that they didn't get to choose. There's a lot of independents that feel like, hey, if they would have just opened the process, even with a little bit of time, most people would probably got behind whoever that person was. So I actually think that, yeah, some of the, interviews could have swayed this or that. I heard some anecdotal evidence of some people that voted because she actually didn't go on Rogan. There was a couple of voters in it. So this is all anecdotal, small-time stuff. But I really think that if they would have just ran a legitimate, hey, 1 week, and I get it, like people didn't want to ruffle feathers and throw their name in a hat and possibly ruin a chance at a last-ditch effort to be able to run again in the future because that'll taint them or whatnot. But I really believe that, I really believe that's where it went wrong. And the drop in vote, I don't know, man. There's a big story to be told in the turnout.
Oh, there is a big. I'm not completely ready to talk about the national numbers yet, because last time I checked, California was still like halfway done counting. So there's still a big chunk of votes left to be counted as it pertains to the national popular vote. But we're going to talk about that as well as part of it.
My bad. Didn't mean to step on your toes, man.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I just was pondering it today, and I was like, man, what in the hell? Like, I wonder how many lefties out there are going to, quote unquote, eat their own or turn the, the racist and woman hating stuff against their own, or are they just going to call it like they were lazy and failed? You know what I mean? It's a weird conundrum.
I mean, one of the problems, though, is that, Biden could have dropped out earlier or could have decided to just not run for re-election. But he basically made the decision after that debate. And as such, at that point, it was too late to have new elections. So the only thing you could have done is had a brokered convention where several different people go into the convention and the delegates vote instead of, the people getting the vote. So the same arguments that are coming more often than not from people from the right who are being critical of the Democratic Party, trying to say, hey, the Democratic Party is not voting democratically because this is what happened. Sure. But, I hear less of it coming from the left, and most of it is coming from the left, or probably also people who are voting for Jill Stein and not people who are actually voting who are ever going to vote for a Democrat anyway. So I don't believe that.
The other thing.
Even if things happen, let me finish. Even if things happen perfectly, or according to what we might think, even if things happen perfectly, and let's say Biden said, I'm not running for re-election, Vice President, I'm still going to support Vice President Harris to be the nominee or whatever. Let's say he did that, and let's say other people did show up or not. Let's say people said, we're not going to challenge the sitting vice president. We're going to basically let her run. Or maybe some people maybe Bernie Sanders would have jumped in again. I don't know, and failed again in the South. Maybe somebody else might have jumped in. Maybe Gavin Newsom might have jumped in, but, again, who knows? But if Vice President Harris would have won that primary, I think we would have seen the same results, because I think there are just people in this country who don't want a woman president. And I think some of those people exist.
That, and there probably are.
And some of those people exist on the left. Some people exist on the left side of the political spectrum.
Absolutely.
And we'll be going over those numbers in a little bit. So anything else to throw out before I get to...
Yeah, just for me as an independent, the way I viewed her, just to give you guys a click into the mindset of probably 10 or 15 or 20% of the country. There's just, sometimes people just, they don't have it. They don't have they don't come across the right way, or they just don't have whatever it is. And for me, she just was, and I can't tell you exactly what it is. It's a whole bunch of little things. She just didn't have it. She could have had my vote. She really could have had my vote. I just couldn't do it, and I don't know why. I couldn't pull the trigger. Is
that a her issue? Is that a your issue though? That's something that maybe you should reflect on.
Maybe it's a me issue. Maybe somewhere. Maybe I'm not opposed to the fact that maybe somewhere deep down on some primal level that maybe there's some misogyny rooted within inside me. I'm not opposed to being open to all possibilities. I'm only 100% about a few things in life, and it's like 3 things actually. The rest of it I leave open to the possibility, so I'll give it to you. Is it possible? Sure. I mean, but as the guy who lives in my own head every day, and I know how I feel about my family and the people in my life, like, that's not how I operate, and that's not how I think. But I will concede that, hey, maybe on some deep-rooted level, maybe it is a woman thing. I don't really know. I just know that she didn't have whatever it was. I just couldn't vote for her. I just couldn't vote for her. Couldn't do
All
it.
right. Well, I mean that's fair. But of course, you are in Illinois, if I remember correctly, and I'm in Louisiana, so our votes don't
Yes.
matter. So at the end of the day,
Right.
that's the fault of our electoral college system. So
Right
thank you,
on.
Chad. I still have three
All right,
more
thank you,
callers
Dan.
on the
Appreciate
phone.
it. Yep,
This is a very busy day on Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. So we're going to
Right
move on to the next callers. Thank you so much. Have a good day. I believe this is what JBR, is it? The one we have two Skype callers, but I think this is JBR from on the YouTube chat.
Yep.
Yeah. How are you today,
Yes, it
sir?
is, JB. I'm good. I thank you for your radio show. I mean, I really appreciate it. And where have you been hiding? I mean,
I've been around. I've been around for. I've been doing the Blog Talk Radio show for at least 12 years. I think this is the 13th season of the Blog Talk Radio show. I've only gotten a little more popular on YouTube over the past few years, thanks to House Sparks. But
yeah.
But I've been here on Blog Talk Radio for a while.
Okay, I'm a first time listener, man. I'll be listening to you every night, 8 p.m. Central Time. I'll be with you.
It's Mondays and Wednesdays at this point, but yeah.
Oh, Monday, Wednesday. Okay.
Monday and Wednesdays at this point,
man.
yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say, well, Trump is not going to last 4 years, and we're going to have J.D. Vance or Shady Vance for another 4 years. Well, whoever it's finished out his term. I mean, it's I just can't believe it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, my grandson was devastated this morning when he woke up when he found out that Kamala lost. And he's terrified. He's just terrified. I have in my family a transgender and other other folks that and he actually calls himself bi. He thinks of himself as bi. He doesn't identify with either race. Mm-hmm. But your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, there are a lot of people who, when I vote, I tend to vote for the people who are less privileged than myself, like people who are going to be harmed the most. Like when people said there's one leftist Facebook page that are on that, and they tried to make the point where if somebody says that they're voting for the lesser of two evils, that they mean the lesser of your two evils. And in reality, for the most part, that's not the case for me. In reality, if I have to think that there are people who are the lesser of two evils, it's always going to be the evil that could be done to the people who are worse off than me. Unless the anti-Semitism ramps up, will probably be fine during the Trump administration. I will probably be fine. A lot of other people, very much so, might not be fine because during the Trump administration, and trans folk, LGBT, gay, lesbian, bisexual folks, minorities.
What do you think? Right. What do you think is going to happen to the generals and all the people that came out and signed the pledge with like Liz Cheney and those people that came out and opposed Trump? I mean, there was a lot of people in his administration that came out and opposed him. What do you think he's going to do? Is he going to go after them, or what? Is he going to put them in detention camps? Are we looking for a 100-acre detention camp? And what's he going to do with MSNBC and CBS? He filed a $10 million lawsuit against CBS for defamation. I mean, what was it? How's this ever going to end? I don't understand. I just don't know.
Well, he said he's going to come and bring retribution. He said he's called Liz Cheney and other people in the media and Adam Schiff and other folks the enemies. He's ramping up that violent rhetoric, and he also now has total and complete immunity for whatever he does. Now, people are going to say, oh, the Supreme Court only says he only has immunity for official acts, but other acts are assumed to be official acts until proven otherwise, and then you can't subpoena any communications from within the presidential for the executive branch, because any communications from the executive branch are now considered privileged, so they can't be used against him in a court of law. So how do you go after him for any violation? So he could sit there and order people in his administration to go do whatever it is that, he wants them to do as it pertains to his retribution. And it's scary. We're going to need, I used to joke around in 2016 a lot, after Trump won or whatever, and maybe afterwards, I would be like, remember when the Egyptian military basically stopped their horrible person from taking power to save the people of Egypt?
I hear you. Yeah.
And I'm like, just remember that, and maybe our military should remember that too, because if things get that bad, what else stops it? Because we don't have a Supreme Court that's going to stop him. They clearly have voted to give him total immunity. If the Democrats don't manage to take the House, which I don't know what's going to happen yet, I'm assuming not, because what else could bad can happen? And then who's gonna stand in the way of Donald Trump for whatever it is he wants to do? He says he wants to be dictator on day one. That will happen if the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court all just bow to his will.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you. I did 32 years in the military, and God forbid what's going to happen. I mean, and how's he going to take 10 million people that are not documented in the United States? What's he going to do? Put them on planes? What country is going to take them?
I think it was Roger Stone. I might be wrong on that, but I think it was Roger Stone that has already suggested that we set up concentration camps for the people who are here and are undocumented, which, that always works well, right?
No.
Right. No, it doesn't work well at all. I'm being sarcastic. But yeah, it's terrifying as to what these people do. I think it was Rudy Giuliani who said that we should put I think he literally said in the last election, put tattoos on Muslims or something, and put serial numbers on them so we could track them, or chips in them or something, or some other thing. People have not learned from their history. I mean, you have what generation Gen Z, millennials have a very poor understanding of the Holocaust and just how many people died in the Holocaust. History forgotten will repeat itself, and there are a lot of people who have forgotten their history.
Yeah, they don't study history, and they did. Well, I didn't live through it. My father did. Went to World War II. He was a medic, and like I said, I did 32 years in the Navy. Man, I'll tell you what, this is unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable, unreal. Yep. All right, Dan, I thank you so much. Take your next caller, man.
Thank you as well. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So I think I'm going to pick the one that's been on hold the most of the two 1111111 numbers, the Skype callers. So this is either going to be my buddy from Atlanta, or this is going to be Brother Michael from across the way. Who's this one?
Yes, sir.
I figured it was Michael. There you go. I'm sorry I didn't get to you the other day. I think you were calling in the other day, but I wasn't taking calls that day because we had on the video chat.
Yes. Yeah, it's okay. I understand. I understood it, and because I think you had a guest, and it was very hard to relay your callers to him, and then him to your callers.
Right.
It would be a lot of time. Yes, I understood it. So how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm not as well as I would have hoped to have been today. Honestly, though, I thought that I didn't think we'd know by today. I thought that this would be let's see what's going on in the state of the election as we count our votes today. I did not expect a call in the middle of the night to call it for Trump. Then again, when we started the night, at least. When we ended the night, when I ended my stream last night, I was like, it's done. And then if Trump, I was worried. I saw all the numbers and I was like, it's just done. There's no way around it. I didn't want to say it live because I wanted to leave people with some amount of hope. But then once I went downstairs and then saw that it was they said Pennsylvania was his, and I'm like, well, that's it, because he's going to win Alaska and he's going to get the one in Maine, and then that's 270, and it's finished. Maybe we're finished. Who knows? I think that, you've done some talking about what Israel might do with Iran or whatever, and I think, Trump may very well be okay, and supportive of Israel going after Iran even before he takes office. And I think Netanyahu is now going to be emboldened to do whatever it is that he wants to do, because he'll know that coming January that he's going to have somebody who wants Netanyahu to, quote, finish the job, which is unfortunate because that's going to mean the death of a lot of innocent Palestinian people living in the Gaza Strip, probably so Donald Trump can get himself some Mediterranean resort property built, which, you know, I wouldn't put it past him. But the sad thing is you had a bunch of people in this country who are typically left-leaning voters who didn't want to admit that things would be much worse for the Palestinians and many other people if Donald Trump became president. And for some reason, they just wouldn't. They didn't want to go with Harris, even though Harris was clear that while Israel has the right to defend itself against Hamas, against Hezbollah, against Iran, how they defend themselves matters. And, you know, clearly Benjamin Netanyahu was not doing, you know, a good job in Gaza because there were too many innocent civilians being unalived, so to speak. So how are you feeling from someone external to the U.S. about the results?
Yeah, honestly, yes, I saw it 36 hours before you got, I mean, because of time zone differences. But, you know, exactly when I saw 245, I said, you know, and it was like 125 or 130 or something. Mm-hmm. There was no way she would catch up to him. And I understand, you know, unfortunately, you know, United States, you know, we the people really don't choose the presidents. We go
right, it's the Electoral College, yes.
And then also there is deep state. They choose whatever they want to. So I guess they came to conclusion that Donald Trump, they needed Donald Trump right now. So I don't know for how long or how many months, but so far I think they chose him.
Well, the so-called deep state. Hold on, the so-called deep state are the people who have been working in government, you know, as civil servants for years. Project 2025 and Donald Trump want to be able to change the rules to get rid of them so that he can fill those roles with loyalists. So the brain drain that we're going to see coming out of Washington, D.C., when all these people who are not Trump loyalists get laid off or fired or worse, it's going to be a shame to this country. The country, it's going to exacerbate the problems that we see.
I think so too. I mean, right now, at least the civil war too is diverted, so that's a very good news. At least the people are not going to kill each other in the United States, but you know, that's the good news. But we have to see, as you know, he has a court date too. We have to see what the judge gives the punishment for him, if any, and then we have to go from there. But still, I think whether we like him or not, I think we have to accept it as it is right now until future date. Maybe it's 4 years from now or less, or whatever happens, you don't know, because I think we are for sure Netanyahu, as you know, the Gallant, he fired Gallant. And so because I think he was selling information to Ayatollahs, so therefore he's out of his cabinet. So now he's replacing a new one, and yes, Israel will go after all the nuclear sites in Ayatollah and also any other military installations, and also all the bunkers. And that's why, B-52 bombers are very close to Ayatollahs. So I think maybe even before elections that happens. Before he takes over,
right.
Or maybe shortly after he takes over, January 2nd or 3rd, that would be a done deal. What do you think?
It's possible. I don't know if Netanyahu's going to wait till before or after. Netanyahu may just try and play nice with Biden until Biden leaves office, and then once the inauguration happens, Netanyahu may very well turn up the juice, so to speak, which is not going to be a good thing, I think, for stability in the region. Because again, while I agree with Vice President Harris and exactly how she worded it, Israel should have the right and the ability to defend itself against terrorist groups like Hamas, like Hezbollah, like Iran, who backs both of them. But if they're doing it in a way that's being extremely harmful to the people in Gaza, people who had no connection to the attacks of 10/7/23, then Netanyahu is not learning any lessons from our history as Jews or from world history in general. So normally I would like to talk to you for a very long time, Brother Michael, but we do have another caller on the line, and I want to get through all the calls and then get to the subjects of the show.
Sure.
Do you have a last thought before I let you go?
Can I say something quickly?
Yeah, last thought before you go.
Netanyahu, because Hamas using the Palestinian as a shield and by force. So they have no other. They can. If they go away, they kill them anyway. So they stay there. They say, "Well, we try to shield you as your instructions say so." So that's the problem too. I understand. Yeah, it's very difficult position, but most of them is like that, and some of them, of course, is by accident. And I understand everything you say. You are right, but I hope the best. So thank you very much, Dan. Shalom.
Thank you very well as well, Brother Michael. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again another day. And our last caller, is this my friend from Atlanta?
Yeah.
What's going on, man? How are you feeling today? I mean, you were in a state that matters. I'm not in a state that matters, but you're in a state that matters. So what did you see going on over in Atlanta that made this happen? What do you think?
Predictable behavior. I'll take it back to 2016. 2016, we get all these weird conversations where people were trying to normalize this person and treat them as if what they're saying is sensible. And they ended up with the idea of economic anxiety being the issue. And here we are, years later, 2024, and I think people are finally now understanding that, no, this is about racism. It's always been about racism. He understood how to play that fiddle for those people, and they always come when he does. And the sad part about it is we sit up and listen to people. I'm not going to reference anybody, but you hear people say, well, it was that moment where Kamala said she had a word salad, or she didn't finish the question properly. And you're sitting there like the other guy's talking about cats and dogs being eaten.
Right. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets.
He's playing YMCA and dancing in front of a crowd.
He's performing fellatio on a broken microphone.
Exactly. She has to present a white paper showing how her plans are not only feasible but cost beneficial and that they could possibly work. Meanwhile, he just says things and we treat it as if it's normal. And all of this could have been stopped just with legacy media asking us these follow-up questions in 2016. Because as we all know, his routine is whenever people ask about specifics or details, he immediately attacks the questioner and turns it into a fracas. So that way, the question never gets answered and people don't become aware of how little he knows. So again, he appealed to the racism of America and to the people who thought that abortion would be the thing that would swing it because white women are white before they're women, okay? Now, Dan, I'm saying this to you and speaking harshly because the situation is dire, and that's how it should be spoken about. That's what that is. So for people to see somebody who's worked in every branch of government, lawyer, just one PhD, I believe, but well-studied, educated person, practiced law as a prosecutor, very firm grasp of things, really smart person. She gets presented as, oh, she's dumb, she's stupid, she's a DEI, this, that, and that. Why are these things compelling? Because that racism is always there. Trump was just the one to figure out that, hey, you can actually go after this. We don't have to do the dog whistle stuff no more. We can just lay it out front, and those people will come. And that's what we saw yesterday. When you look at I know the exit polls aren't exact, and some of it is going to be debunked in the next few weeks. But what we're looking at right now, when you see white women voting, I mean, you can put this graph right on to 2016. The Clinton election, and look at where white women decided to put their vote, even with the idea of abortion being on the line. Not to mention 2 Supreme Court justices, because I'm sure Clanson's going to retire. But I'm going to give y'all a little bit of good after all of that bad I just gave y'all.
Sure. Go. I want to hear it.
You're a big Simpsons fan, so you'll get this one. You know when they tell you about hell, the one thing about hell is they try to find the thing that you like the most and give you way more than you want. So you think about Homer Simpson being fed those donuts?
Yeah.
You think about this dude being given all of this power and just his natural instinct to grip and grab as much as he can and grab with both hands. This man is going to destroy himself. Mitch McConnell and company are going to use him as a signing pin again, because he doesn't care about legislation, can't read or understand legislation. He just wants things done. And Mitch McConnell and those boys are going to get everything they want and leave him holding the bag with all the blame and his own insecurities and his deep, dark persona, the Roy Cohn protege, so to say. And I would suggest a lot of people read about Roy Cohn right now.
Oh yeah, I brought up Roy Cohn. I think Monday or Tuesday I brought up Roy Cohn. But yeah, people should know about Roy Cohn because Roy Cohn's responsible for making Frankenstein's monster, so to speak.
Yes, it's the exact same idea, because Roy Cohn's whole thing was push everything to the limit, and eventually people will back down. And that man lived till 85 before he was finally taken to task and really brought up on charges.
Right.
So Trump is rolling in a similar vein, but again, this dude is going to destroy itself. This coalition is going to be really hard to keep, because one thing about anger is good for fights, but it's really hard to sustain it on a daily basis. So as people look at the high grocery costs and everything else, these aren't things Trump is going to solve, because these are problems created by McKinsey and some of these other private equity firms who come into our food supply and other things and decided the best way to appease shareholders was to figure out ways to cheat the customer. And that's going to continue under Trump's watch after these people thought they threw a Hail Mary to somebody who could fix the economy. No, he's going to be around for the worst of the things that are going to come. So, yeah, this 4 years is going to be really interesting. But please, don't lose hope out here. We've seen worse than this guy. We've seen smarter than this guy, craftier than this guy. The 2 good things about him is how lazy he is and how unintelligent he is.
Right.
Those 2 things.
Well, there's that, but I mean, now you're giving me the thought in my head of Donald Trump reaching for all the power like Homer Simpson in the donuts and going, hom, chom. Like, now I have that picture in my head. So,
dude, because think about it. Give him everything he wants and watch him crumble, because he won't be able to control himself, man. They're talking about the things he's got going on with Egypt right now. Supposedly there's a burner phone and hush money. And this is only going to get worse. I'm sure G is rolling a blunt and drinking his favorite whiskey right now, because he knows he's got the worst spades or poker partner we could put at the table. And they're going to run his pockets again the same way they did with his stupid tariff idea the first time. But, Dan, I just had to get that off my chest, man.
Look, man, I appreciate you. Go ahead.
We got to do something about this racism, man, because if we get a smarter Trump years from now, who really knows how to play the same way Trump did, but is also crafty and intelligent and knows legislation, it could get even more dire. So, I mean, this is just something we are going to have to come to grips with as Americans. We can't just keep pushing it in the closet and hoping that it works out, because socially we've learned to get along together. But when it comes down to it, man, the fact that he can just poke at that and just poke at that, and it worked to the tune of 2 election cycles, we got to do better.
We do. I agree with you 100%. And thank you again for calling. Call more often, man. Appreciate you calling in. I love your contributions to the show. Hey, you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks.
All right. We managed to get all the way through the phone calls. I don't think I've had an hour's worth of phone calls before on the show ever. I guess Election Day caused a lot of people to want to come out and want to be able to talk. Thank you so much, Chad, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate you for that. Again, show Reset, Liberal Den Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central here. LiberalDanRadio.com, twitch.tv/LiberalDanRadio, blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan. Number to call in, 914-803-4131, 914-803-4131. Support the show. Make sure to smash the like button over on YouTube. Share videos, comment on videos, interact with other people. The more comments that happen, the more engagement that I get, the more the YouTube algorithms will push my content to other people, which will only help the show grow more and more and more. And I can't do it without y'all. Jenny Pie, I should have gone to law school. I agree with you. I wanted to go to law school when I was in high school, and my mom was like, "You don't have the killer instinct to be a lawyer." So I didn't become a lawyer. I became a software developer instead. And then later on, as I'm debating issues of law with other people, like online, my mom's like, "Well, why didn't you ever become a lawyer?" I'm like, "Because you told me not to." So, yeah. So let's talk about some of the other things I want to talk about before we get to the raw, hard numbers, or at least some of them might be shifting numbers, but we still have some numbers. One of the things I saw on Facebook today was people celebrating the fact that their overtime is no longer going to be taxed. And that is so not true. If you believe that Donald Trump's going to actually get that passed, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. But even if Donald Trump does get it passed, it's going to come along also likely with the Project 2025 plan to make it so that overtime isn't charged on more than 40 hours in 1 week. Project 2025 wants it to be on more than 80 hours in 2 weeks or 160 hours in 4 weeks. They want to make sure that they don't have to pay overtime, that they could work their workers to the bone in the busy weeks and then just send them home the next week so they never have to pay out overtime in their life. So yeah, maybe your overtime will be tax-free, but you'll never get it in the first place because they'll manipulate the system because you don't have the same power as they do. And that's the way they're going to screw things up. So that's okay, JBR. Clicking the thumbs... Oh, I thought you said to click thumbs up. Okay. Thumbs down button. Also, actually, when people click the thumbs down, I think it also helps with the engagement thing. So there you go. See, Chad, it was always my dream to be a lawyer, even as a kid. Unfortunately, failed my younger self. Well, it happens. I also wanted to be shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles, and that didn't happen either. So, anyway, one of the things before we get to the main topic, So I was talking about the failure of the legacy media, mainstream media. It's part of my opening of my show now. I've noticed that several people, while I'm not able to, I haven't been responding to everything that's been said in the chat. I have noticed some of the things scrolling by, bringing up the failure of the media. I think Kimchi brought up hey Kimchi, by the way, bringing up the fact that the media is traitors or treasonous or whatever. Well, if you happen to miss the short that I posted online yesterday, here's going to be the more official version of Liberal Dan Radio presents Fat Man Rants. Anyway, that will be edited out to be something else entirely. But last night on MSNBC, you had Lawrence O'Donnell talking about the Florida abortion vote, where you needed 60% of the vote to enshrine abortion rights in the Florida Constitution, and Floridians came out and only gave 57% of the vote towards the abortion amendment, so the abortion amendment narrowly failed. Now, what this idiot, Lawrence O'Donnell, now let's remind everybody, Lawrence O'Donnell is the person who told us, without a shadow of a doubt in his mind, that Donald Trump was never going to run for president in 2016 because of his deals with NBC, because of his financials, because of all these reasons. Lawrence O'Donnell was convinced that Donald Trump would never actually run for president, that he wouldn't be the candidate, and it would be done, and it would be somebody else. Well, he was dead wrong, clearly, because he did run for office. And now Lawrence O'Donnell is saying that the Republican Party is going to pay attention magically now to that 57% number in Florida, because they're going to say, oh, well, 57% of Florida supports abortion rights, so maybe we need to change our tune on abortion. No, they're not. They're not for one bit. And Lawrence O'Donnell is not the only person in the media, in the big corporate media, who doesn't understand this concept. That what people feel about individual issues doesn't matter to the entrenched party, as long as the entrenched party knows that there are enough voters who are never going to abandon that party on that singular issue. Be it abortion, be it guns. The MSNBC prognosticators whine and moan and bitch and complain about the fact, why are these people, not supporting common sense gun reform when 80 to 85% of America wants it? Because they know they know that they can. They know that they can still be beholden to the NRA, and they're not going to lose their voters, because their voters, even if they think there should be common sense gun control in several states, even if the Floridian voters think that there should be a right to abortion enshrined in the Florida Constitution, even if they believe all that, Governor DeSantis and the other Republicans in Florida and other Republicans all over the place know that enough people who voted yes to enshrine abortion rights into the Florida Constitution are not going to stop voting for Republicans. Because even though they support choice, it's not enough for them to abandon ship. They're not going to tell the people who are in their party, look, I'm going to vote for Democrats if you don't stop being this way on abortion. They know they're not going to do that, because there are other Republican issues and other issues that are going to make them not vote for Democrats. So why these people have such high-paying jobs on a major news network is beyond me, because if they're so stupid that they can't understand why these Republican legislators, why these Republican governors, why the Republicans in general won't change their tune on abortion despite 57% voting yes in Florida, you should just quit your job and let yourselves be replaced with other people who understand how things work. There you go. That's my fat man rant. I hope Nick's in the chat, because there you go. There's Nick. I hope Nick's in the chat, and the first chat thing that comes up is from Nick. Nick loves my fat man rants, which my fat man rants would become, because that's my thing. And again, one of the things about thin privilege or whatever, like I talk about this, is that one of the reasons I came up with fat man rants is simply I was tired of me giving an opinion on politics and then being told that my opinion was wrong because I'm fat. So if I start off by calling it a fat man rant, guess what? They can't now say I'm fat or criticize me or insult me because I'm fat. Oh, really? What's this thing called? This was called Fat Man Rants. So therefore, yeah, I know I'm fat. I have mirrors in my house. There you go. So, and yeah, we're going to get to that in a second as well, Stephen, about Ukraine. That's actually probably the next thing I wanted to talk about, is because what is Joe Biden going to do between now and January 20th to help the Ukrainians win the war and successfully defend themselves against Russia? Because their clock is now ticking. They have 2 months and 14 days to beat Russia back. So if Joe Biden has to sit here and say, okay, we're going to ship a crap ton of stuff over to over to Ukraine so that Ukraine can say, okay, we're gonna really fight back against Putin now, and like they have been really well. But if Biden doesn't make sure that they get that aid now, Trump's never going to do it because Trump's going to bend over backwards or forwards for Putin, however Putin wants him to bend, in order to make sure that Putin can steamroller Ukraine and absorb it back into the Russian fold. Because, yeah, Donald Trump is... And then, let's say... And the other problem with it is with America not supporting the fight by Ukraine to defend themselves against the Russian aggression and tyranny, is that if NATO then decides that they're going to pick up that slack because it's important to, help Ukraine defend itself, that's just going to escalate things more in the region, because then it's going to be only NATO in Europe versus Putin, and that has a bigger shot of escalating World War III. One of the things that they tried to sell us on with Donald Trump's not going to give us World War III, which is BS. That may very well give us World War III, because NATO's going to want to see Ukraine defended, and if Trump's not going to do it, NATO's going to pick up the slack, and then Russia's going to take that as more NATO aggression. Putin knows that, there's only certain things that he can do against the United States. But if the United States takes its ball and goes home, and now it's Russia against just Europe, that's a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for disaster. As Dean said, it will weaken NATO in Europe. Donald Trump worked very hard during his last tenure as president to weaken NATO in Europe, and that only serves to embolden Putin and whatever. The people say, well, why weren't there any, wars or whatever so-called? But there were still conflicts going on during Trump's administration. Don't get that wrong. But the reason that Putin didn't invade Ukraine during the Trump administration is because Trump ceded power to Putin in Syria. Trump ceded power to Putin in Europe by helping to weaken NATO. So, of course, Putin's not going to expend resources to do something that Trump is giving him for free. So, and Billy Kid, yes, those who support Gaza are in a route for Akin 2. Trump will let Netanyahu destroy Gaza. Absolutely. As I said yesterday, Monday, many episodes before, and today. I think I said it earlier today as well. Trump will have no problem if Netanyahu decides to raise Gaza, so just specifically so that he could probably have Mediterranean beachfront property and build Trump Gaza or Trump Med or Trump Israel, but it'll all be in like Hebrew letters or whatever. So, yeah, the harm that the people who refused to come out and vote has caused, or the harm of the people who didn't like that Harris was a woman or whatever, is going to be felt worldwide harm, because we decided that we weren't going to vote for a woman again. Yeah. Putin has been an architect of American dictatorial or political collapse. Yeah. I mean, there was no one's really talking that much about the bomb threats that took place in the swing states, in probably areas that are democratically controlled, to try and keep the Democrats home. I mean, they said that they weren't credible, but I'm wondering how many people in those states didn't come out to vote because they heard of a bomb threat. So Putin, again, is trying to put its nose and help their preferred person, i.e. Donald Trump, into the office again. So Putin got his wish. Congratulations, America. You've enabled Putin's bitch to be now in power yet again. So, Josh, maybe this will make NATO stronger? I don't think so. Caller, I'll get to you in a second. I think that's Big Hook. I think this is now Big Hook after wrongly guessing a couple times. But we'll get to you in a second. But one thing I want to ask before going to you is... excuse me. One thing I want to ask is, do y'all remember the Supreme Court ruling that was talking about like January 6th, and whether or not Donald Trump could be allowed to be on the ballot? That was the thing that was being discussed. Should Donald Trump be allowed to be left off the ballot in like Colorado, in other states that were trying to say because he committed an act of insurrection against the United States that he is not eligible to be president of the United States under the Constitution. Do you remember what this activist conservative Supreme Court said in that ruling? I could go hunt down and pull it up, but I generally know. But do you remember what was said in that ruling? I want to leave that hanging for a bit and go to the caller, who I think now is Big Hook.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay.
Boy, what the fuck happened?
Do you feel like the apartment living above the meth lab?
Distressing.
Do you feel like you're the apartment above the meth lab at this point?
Pretty much. You know what? You guys basically said, you know what? We don't need Social Security. No, we don't need Medicare. No, we don't need the EPA. We don't need the FDA. We don't need the, all the institutions that protect you guys are going to be dismantled.
Yep.
And, I am just absolutely livid, because what are you going to do now? Once it's all gone, it's all gone. And unless you're going to start completely from the beginning again and, start a whole new system, you guys are fucked.
I agree.
There is no doubt about it. And the thing is that it's not just NATO, it's the rest of the world. Who's going to be monitoring China when the next pandemic rolls around and it isn't just a 2% fatality rate?
Right.
Who's going to keep all the bad actors out there honest? This is
that's
really
the thing.
what's
that is the thing
off.
That terrifies me. That is the virus thing and another pandemic. In the back of my head, that always terrifies me. The idea that these people, these MAGA idiots, have become so anti-vaccine, so anti-government, telling us what to do when it comes to pandemics, that if a pandemic came out with like a 10% kill rate, they wouldn't listen to experts, and they would just go out and do whatever it is they want to do and just risk death and risk putting other people at risk as well, simply because they don't want to believe science.
Well, I mean, you guys already have a problem there. You guys don't even want to pay for new antibiotics. So what's going to happen now? The hospitals are going to have the resistant bacteria that's going to come in, and then it's going to fucking wipe out all surgical procedures and everything else. You guys are sliding backwards so fucking fast, you might as well go start living in caves again. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I am so disappointed in this bullshit that you guys did here. I'm still not convinced that this wasn't a rigged thing, because there's still votes that are unaccounted for and everything else. And not to mention the fact that Trump went around saying, I don't need your votes.
Right.
I've already figured out how to win. I mean,
they had the secret plan, the secret plan with Mike Johnson, and he also told the evangelicals, come out and vote once and you'll never have to vote again. I mean, that's what a dictator says.
I mean, I don't know. I listened to Texas Paul this morning, and he laid it out. He said, basically, prepare. Make sure that you do things. I don't know. Maybe that means you go and you buy a couple big bags of rice or whatever, and stock up on things that are eventually going to be way too expensive in the future, because once you start getting rid of all those undocumented immigrants, there's going to be nobody left to pick the food. There's going to be nobody left to fix the houses and everything else from the natural disasters. FEMA will no longer be available to you. So guess what? You guys are going to be shit out of luck, and there ain't going to be anybody coming to the rescue. And you owe it all to those fucking billionaires who needed more money than God.
Yeah.
And it really fucking pisses me off.
You should be.
It really fucking pisses me off. I thought we lived in a better world than this. I really thought we lived in a better world than this.
Well, I
You
mean,
guys,
the world
know
itself might
what
be
it
good,
is.
but there are a lot of shitty people in it. So, I don't. But like
I'm sorry.
talking about it's fine.
I am incensed.
You should be. I'm incensed as well.
I have the liberty of being able to say this because I'm living in a safe place.
Right.
But you guys don't. And that's the thing. You guys took a risk after already seeing him fuck up for 4 years. He promised infrastructure for 4 fucking years. He promised to release his taxes for 4 fucking years. He promised to give you a better healthcare system for 4 fucking years. You know, he never lived up to any of the promises that he made. Not one.
And after 4 years of being
from their families.
After 4 years of being president, and then another 4 years to sit and stew on it, when asked about his health care plan, he could only come up with the concept of a plan. And that's one of the many things where I pointed out how, okay, had Vice President Harris said that, it would have been more than just jokes at her expense. It would have been, this is an unserious candidate, and we shouldn't vote for her because she's an unserious candidate. Meanwhile, Trump says that, and everyone's like, well, that's just Trump being Trump. He's so bad that he's become a meme.
You guys lost out on so much. You lost out on a $50,000 business credit. You lost out on $6,000 for child care tax credit, plus a $5,000 tax credit for children above a year old. I mean, this is insane. You said you basically dismantled everything that was there. You had the chance to make one tiny step in the right direction and join the rest of the Western world and be part of the nation of sanity. And you fucking turned it all apart because I don't like black people.
Right.
Or I don't like Mexicans.
I don't like
this
women.
Is fucking bullshit.
Or women can't lead or whatever it is. I mean, you had people on MSNBC prognosticating, do the Democrats come out of this saying we could never nominate another woman again because we know how it's going to turn out. Like, it's that absurd. Now, like, what was I going to say? Go on. I think you had something else to say. Let me stew on what I was about to. Oh, wait, student loans.
I don't understand it because.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, the student loans. Like, all those people, and anybody who's out there who is in student loan repayment right now, who are benefiting from the SAVE plan, who went and voted for Trump, I'm going to tell you right now, y'all are a bunch of fucking idiots. If I lose my SAVE plan that I have with my student loan repayment, if I lose that, that new repayment plan that the Biden administration came up with, it's going to cost me $250 extra a month on my student loan payments. That's gonna harm me a bunch. And I mean, I didn't vote simply because of that, but there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be hurting, and based because their student loan payments have now gone up, because if Donald Trump does decide to get rid of the SAVE plan, which why wouldn't he? Because he doesn't give a crap about the people in student loan repayment. Because when DeVos was his Secretary of Education, she wouldn't even process the income. The IDR plans for the people working in nonprofits, the public service loan forgiveness. She wouldn't even sign off on those, because I think the first one of those came around during his administration, and she was like, "No, I work for a loan processor, or I own interest in loan processors, so I don't want to give up my cash cow. So therefore, we're not going to process these things." So.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen now, because at this point, here's the thing. All these rich Republicans are going to be the only ones that are going to be able to afford to go to school. And I mean, let's face it, after he gets rid of, Thomas and Alito retire, and he puts in a bunch of 2 more 40-year-olds who are going to sit on the court for the next fucking 40 years.
Right.
I mean, you guys are going to be fucked for human rights. I mean, You basically look. Here's the simplest way to put it: you guys fucking lost your humanity. You lost your humanity. You decided, I'm going to be selfish and I'm going to look after number one and fuck the rest of the world. You know, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. You got where you are based on all the contributions of society around the world. They all came from different places around the world, relocated in the U.S., and took their skills and put them to work so that way everybody could fucking benefit. And this is horse shit. This is horse shit. I am so tired of this bullshit. Oh, well, it's a conservative principle. No, it's a fucking asshole principle. That's what it is. Let's call it for what it is. It is nothing worse than just being selfish and refusing to share. It's like, you know, I mean, the way I look at it, I had a little quote that I said. I said it's like the kid that doesn't want to share the Lego. So you know what he does? He swallows it.
Right.
You know, and that's the way these fuckers operate. It's so sickening. They are so fucking selfish. They just destroy everything. They decide, oh, well, if I can't win the argument, I'll just make sure that nothing gets done. I mean, I don't know. I've just lost my shit. I can't take it anymore. This is not the America that the world knew, and what it comes from it, I have no fucking idea. But I'll tell you this much. It ain't going to be good, and you guys are going to be in a world of hurt for the next 4 fucking years, if not longer. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. Because you guys had everything offered to you that she could possibly offer to you, and she told you how she was going to pay for it, and it was reasonable, and it wouldn't have hurt the richest among you even in the slightest. And you decided, no, let's give all the rest of the money to the billionaires. And you know what's going to happen? When you can't pay your rent, when you can't feed yourself, they're going to buy up everything, every last bit of property. And guess what? You have basically gone back to being slaves for the rich. And that's going to be it. There is no other way to describe it. You basically gave up everything. You gave up your rights. You gave up your freedom. You gave up your Constitution. You gave up everything.
Yep.
All because, oh, I don't like black people. I don't like Mexicans. Fuck you.
Yep. Also, I mean, you brought up civil rights. You brought up, you brought up civil rights. You brought up that. I mean, remember the concurrence in Dobbs v. Jackson when it came to Clarence Thomas. He basically said the quiet part out loud. He basically told us that next on the chopping block is going to be Lawrence v. Texas. It's going to be Obergefell v. Hodges. It's going to be Griswold. It's going to be all these other rulings that he disagrees with. That the idiot Cannon down in Florida decided that she was going to listen to his other concurrence when it came to if Jack Smith could be in charge or whatever, because he gave his opinion about whether or not the suit could even come in. And even though it wasn't legal precedent, she decided that she was going to cite the concurrence that he's the only one who concurred with it. So, I mean, we have conservatives are going to latch on to Thomas's, feelings, and then we're going to get, we're going to lose many, many more rights for individuals in this country. And it's not going to be a good place, and we only have ourselves to blame as a whole.
Well, that's what I don't get, right? I mean, you have dumb people, and then you have really, really dumb people. And you know what? The really, really dumb people did the worst possible thing that they could possibly do. You might as well just given them some heroin laced with fentanyl and said, go to town and take your chances, because that's exactly what they fucking did. That's exactly what they fucking did. And it'll be a short ride for a little while, and then they're all gonna fucking die out. Mm-hmm. There is no other way this is going to end other than human suffering at the expense of the rich. That's all it's ever been. That's all it's going to be, because you guys couldn't fucking elect a fucking woman of all fucking things.
Right.
It's disgusting. You come from a woman takes care of you till you can take care of yourself, and you fucking spit in her face and said, fuck you, I don't need you.
Yep.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting. It is immoral. Even Christianity teaches you better than that. And I don't believe in Christianity for a sec, because you know what? It always comes with caveats where it's like, oh, well, one is better than the other.
Right.
No, in the end, we're all fucking human. We all bleed. We all suffer. I am so fucking tired of this shit.
Were you watching
Sorry,
the show?
That's my
no,
rant.
That's fine. You can have your rant. I'm more than happy to give you your rant. Were you watching the show the other day when Adlo Him was trying to debate like biblical things with me, and I was like, well, Acts 4 and 5 clearly says that you should give up all your worldly possessions when you sell them and give and disperse. Yeah, like it's like they don't even know their own Bible. They don't know what their own Bible says. So
when a Jew knows the Bible better than these so-called faux Christians.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. If they were really Christian, and why do they need mega churches? Why do they need fucking Fleer jets and whatnot to hobnob around the country just to take more money from you?
Well,
right?
if you have a more expensive jet, you can get closer to Jesus and closer to heaven, right?
This is fucking bullshit. This
It is.
fucking bullshit. I'm sorry. I feel like my stomach is going to burst. It's just ridiculous because I have so much anger because the possibility for betterment of humankind was right there on the cusp, and you guys fucking pissed it away. I'm still not convinced that this wasn't rigged. I'm still not convinced that it wasn't rigged. I think the fix was in because Trump was so goddamn certain that he was going to walk away with this. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand how else to interpret this because all available data said otherwise. And I'm sorry, that doesn't add up unless the fix was in right from the beginning.
Well, when Donald, one of the things
anyway.
that kind of raised my eyebrow when Donald Trump made his comments, he was like, if it's a fair election and I lose fairly, then I'll concede. And so far, this has been a fair election. And I'm like, what does he know that we don't know? What internal polling information does he have? Like, I was convinced back in 2020 that when he made that horrible deal with OPEC and Russia, that his internal polling data was telling him that he was going to lose, and as such, he made sure to set up the next president to fail. So I was convinced that he knew he was losing, but still was going to make a big stink out of it, because again, he was going to make a big stink about it because he didn't want to lose, and he was going to basically claim that it was somebody else's fault. But for him to then say this time that so far it's a fair election and he would concede if it was fair, that to me was like, there's some internal polling data there that is telling him that he's winning at the moment, and that did concern me. So anyway, so look, I do want to get onto the next topic.
Shocked. We
are very shocked. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No.
I am
don't apologize.
Really fucking upset, and
you have everybody in the planet should have the right to be.
If I offended anybody, I'm sorry. I'm doing it only because I fucking care about you guys.
We appreciate. We care
and
about.
And for that, I won't apologize.
We care about you. The we of Liberal Dan Radio and the audience. I know everybody in the chat has been talking, saying lovely, wonderful things about you, and 100% agreeing with everything you said in your rant. Never apologize for caring about other people. It's a good thing, even if caring with curses is much better than not caring without curses. So I appreciate you. I welcome your call all the time. You know that, and I can't disagree with anything that you've said in your call. So love you, man. Have a good rest of your night. And we will definitely be talking about this election.
And I hope you're.
we'll be talking about this election for a while because there's more data to come in.
Stuff still goes through.
I hope so
I hope
as
you
well.
guys
Man.
don't lose your Medicare.
I hope
Okay.
I hope we don't either, but we'll have to see. But again, thank you so much, Big Hook. You have a good rest of your night.
Okay, I'm praying for you guys. I don't pray, but I am praying for you guys.
Sending us all the good thoughts. We need all of them. So thank you so much, man.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Okay. Take care.
You too. Now, I did talk before I took Big Hook's call. I did pose a question to the audience. I didn't see if there was an answer from the audience about if anybody remembers what exactly the Supreme Court said when it came to whether or not Donald Trump could be removed from the ballot because he was an insurrectionist and incited an insurrection and basically was a traitor to this country. Does anybody remember what the Supreme Court said in that case? I don't think anybody answered that, but I'm going to basically explain what the Supreme Court said in that case from a 30,000 level view. The Supreme Court basically said that the authority to determine who is eligible and who is not eligible to be president of the United States as it pertains to the Electoral College and the Constitution belongs to Congress. And the time that Congress could do that would be on the time when they're counting the electoral votes and seeing whether or not there was a valid Electoral College vote or not. Right? That's what it said. So are we going to see Democrats now challenging the Electoral College votes of Republicans, of Donald Trump and his Electoral College, delegates or whatever they're called, the members of the Electoral College? Are we going to see the Democrats challenging that based on the fact that he's an insurrectionist traitor who shouldn't be allowed to serve in office because of the rules of the Constitution? Is that something that's going to happen? I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. My leaning is that they probably won't because they don't want to, be seen as being going against the will of the people. But again, the will of the people can't appoint an ineligible person for the presidency. Like, if it turned out that he was really just looked old and really was only 34 years old, he couldn't be president. If it turned out that he wasn't a natural born citizen, he couldn't be president. He commits acts of treason against the United States of America, he technically is not supposed to be president. Will the Democrats in the House and Senate act? Who knows? Probably in the Senate. And I think they've changed the rules on it where you need 20% of each body to be able to come forward and question it. Will they do that? I don't know. But it's just something to think about, maybe for another show when we can delve deeper into that. Well, maybe we'll bring back up the text of that ruling and we'll see whether or not what exactly the Supreme Court has to say on the issue, and whether or not there will be challenges on this upcoming January 6th. Yes, I believe the Colorado Supreme Court did say that Trump was ineligible, and he was removed. He was going to be removed from the ballot pending the Supreme Court of the United States saying something else. Right, Marsha has it 100% right. So, let's see. Rants about Lawrence O'Donnell, talking about Supreme Court ruling on January 6th. I don't wish harm on anybody, generally speaking, but I think we all know that harm is going to be coming to people in this country. And the only thing I'm hoping for at this point is I hope the people who voted against their best interests, I hope they're the ones that get harmed first. If anybody has to be harmed, I would like it to be the ones who voted against their best interest and who while getting that harm are like, I didn't realize it was going to be this bad. Well, maybe you should have listened to us. Maybe you should have listened to the people telling you that Trump's a Nazi, that Trump's a bigot, that he's a fascist. You know, maybe you should listen to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from life that's right more often. Anyway. But as if we start seeing people like who voted for Trump, like, and they let's say you have people voting for Trump and they get deported or something because they get wrapped up in what he wants to do with the undocumented people, and let's say somebody, you know, can't show a paper or something, and well, I voted for Trump. Too bad. Yeet. I'll be sitting here watching that video, eating popcorn and enjoying life. You know, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So, one thing I want to talk about before the main subject. We're an hour and a half in the show and we haven't even gotten to the main subject yet. What about Trump's empty-headed cabinet that we're going to see? Who do we think we're going to see? I mean, we already know that Elon Musk is going to be supposedly the head of the Department of Governmental Efficiency, or DOGE, or Doge, which is just ridiculous. I mean, it's so childish. The idea that, you know, you're going to name the department that you're going to newly create for Elon Musk and name it after his frickin' cryptocurrency. Like, how childish can you be? I think it was, I was thinking this, I think it was Ojeda that I was at listening. I was kind of bouncing between shows, so I don't remember exactly which show I heard this on. I think it was Made the Major. I'm not sure. But it might have been, I think it's most likely was the Major. I had the same exact thought that he did earlier today. I was thinking to myself that if Elon Musk gets into government and starts working government, that Donald Trump is going to work very hard to make him the first trillionaire. Will we see Teslas being purchased by U.S. government now? Will federal government vehicles now all be the Cybertrucks? That would be disgusting looking, but, you know, is what it is. But who else? You know, we have RFK Jr., what, is going to be Surgeon General or in charge of at least health policy and vaccines? That's an absurd notion. Who else will he promote, though? Is he going to give us Dana White in charge of the Peace Corps? Dana White from the UFC? Are we going to get Steve Bannon in charge of the Food and Drug Administration? Are we going to get Ken Paxton, the guy who went after Kate Cox in Texas as Attorney General, in charge of the Justice Department? Is Rudy Giuliani going to be in charge of HUD? Linda McMahon, wife of Vince McMahon from WWF fame, is she going to be head of the Department of Labor? Greg Abbott for Department of Transportation? What else? What other cabinet seats do we think will be filled by these Donald Trump sycophants or whatever? Marsha Jones, how did he get back on the ballot in Colorado? Because the way that Donald Trump got back on the ballot is because the ruling basically said, either the ruling or the announcement basically said, he's not eligible unless the federal Supreme Court says that he is. So that's how he got back on the ballot. So not that it matters because Harris won Colorado, so it really doesn't matter. But wait, who's losing it, Michael? Why are we losing it? You're going to lose yourself in the moment. You know it. You never, ever let it go. You only got one stamp. You don't give you a chance to flow. The opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Yo. Anyway. So who else do we think is going to be leave your ideas in the chat while I go on to the next message or the next idea that we want to talk about, which is the main topic of the show. We're finally here. Sexism and racism. Sexism and racism in this election, and what do the numbers say? So I've been saying since, last night that sexism and racism have won the day. But is this just a feeling of mine? No. You can look at the numbers empirically and see what happened in this election and determine for yourself if there was racism or sexism that was going on. Let's look at the state of Arizona, shall we? At the time of me collecting this data, Vice President Harris had 1,053,650 votes in Arizona. Gallego, the person running for the for Senate from Arizona, had 1,113,390. That is a 60,000 vote difference for Gallego. 60,000 people in Arizona, at the time of me collecting the data at least, said, I'm going to vote for the Democrat guy for the Senate, but I'm not going to vote for the Democrat woman for the presidency. Virginia. Tim Kaine won his seat, won re-election in Virginia. Tim Kaine had 2,305,798 votes. Again, as the last time I checked the numbers. Kamala Harris, 2,228,567. Roughly a 77,000 vote difference. 77,000 Virginians decided that they were going to vote for Tim Kaine, that they wanted Tim Kaine to represent them in the Senate, but could not bring themselves to vote for Vice President Harris. North Carolina, Josh Stein, 3,036,723 votes for Josh Stein for governor. Vice President Harris, 2,684,549. A difference of roughly 350,000 votes more for Josh Stein than Vice President Harris. Now, yes, Josh Stein had the added benefit of running against a self-proclaimed black Nazi. But then again, Vice President Harris was running against the person who endorsed that black Nazi and said that he was, our Martin Luther King or whatever ridiculous thing he said about Mark Robinson. So apparently supporting the black Nazi is okay to 350,000 North Carolinians voting in this election. And even in states where both seats were lost. Ohio. Vice President Harris got 2,476,003 votes, as the last time I checked. Sherrod Brown, 2,592,539. Difference of 116,000 votes. Now, Sherrod Brown didn't win the race, but still, 116,000 people decided that Sherrod Brown was the right choice for senator, but wouldn't vote for Vice President Harris. Let's see, I already talked about Arizona. Other issues. Not even talking about comparing her vote total to, again, another person running for elected office. In Florida, 6,061,672 people voted for the abortion amendment to codify abortion rights in the Florida Constitution. Vice President Harris only got 4.6 million people, 4.67 million. A difference of 1.39 million. And let's even look at the Senate candidate, who is also a woman, Debbie Murkowski Powell. 4.59 million people voted for her. Yet, 140 million, or 1.4 million people decided that they would vote to enshrine abortion rights in the state constitution, but would vote for the presidential candidate and the senatorial candidate, both men, who made that necessary to happen because Roe versus Wade got overturned. A different race, Minnesota. Amy Klobuchar got 1.79 million votes in Minnesota. Kamala Harris, 1.656 million votes in Minnesota. Now, clearly this isn't a sexism issue because they're both women. But Amy Klobuchar is a white woman. Vice President Harris is a black woman. And so Amy Klobuchar got 135,000 votes. And of course, Amy Klobuchar defeated the GOP nominee, who is a black person as well. So here are clear numbers showing you that sexism and or racism won the day or won the night. And we haven't even talked about the overall popular vote and the difference between Hillary to Biden to Vice President Harris. Why? Well, because California's not finished it yet. So we may have to do a part 2 on this to look at some other states, some other races, and some other issues and other areas where Vice President Harris underperformed either the male candidate or underperformed the white candidate or underperformed, ballot initiatives that were necessary because of Donald Trump in the first place. Sexism and racism won the day. Agree or disagree? Leave your comments down below. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a good day. And for anybody who's new to the videos, I was recording that so I can make a shorter clip and upload it immediately after the show. So sometimes I'll do that and basically put the ending in the video. So I'm not ending the show immediately. However, it might be soon, but I'm not ending the show as of right now. So, Jenny Pie, learn Russian. Do we have to learn Russian? Can we just learn to speak like we're Russian? Like, hello, my name is Daniel. I'm from Svetlanevgrad. So, whatever. Wait, what? Kevin Anderson pointed out the chatter was quoting Liberal Dan. The chatter was quoting Eminem lyrics to "Lose Yourself" from 8 Mile. Yes, that was my intent. I'm glad somebody picked it up. Or was somebody else also doing that, and as such, I was just picked up on it. Oh yeah, Liberal Dan was quoting Eminem's song "Lose Yourself." Okay, there you go. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where that was in. But hey, Kevin Anderson, good to see you. I don't know if I said hello to you yet so far tonight. We got Roxanne, Surrender Monkey, Josh, Steve from across the pond. I don't think I've said hello to either of you yet. If I did, I'm saying hello again. Bill, good to see you. Again, thank you, Jenny Pie, for stopping by. JD Vance is a venture capitalist cosplaying as a cowboy to these guys. Your communities are just all commodities. Exactly. Dead on balls accurate, as Mona Lisa Vita would say in there. Dean says Harris should have never conceded. It's catch-22 with that one. Yeah, we didn't want to see Vice President Harris concede, but why would she not? You know what I mean? I mean, Donald Trump never conceded too, right? And we're trying to be better than them. But again, it's again coming down to the whole thing. We as Democrats are expected to be better than the Republicans. We are expected to be perfect and well-behaved and proper and follow, how things are supposed to go, but the Republicans are not expected to have that happen. So it's just, again, the double standard of politics in this country to begin with. So these cows are small, these cows are far away. What was that from? Should we have a civics test to get a ballot? One would hope that people would understand civics, but the problem with giving tests for ballots is that never works out well, and the people who create them often do so to try and disenfranchise black voters specifically. Intelligence tests used to be the thing in the South to count how many bubbles of soap are on this bar of soap. Oh, you can't name the number, can't count the number of bubbles on this bar of soap. You missed one. Now you can't vote. Sorry. So while it would be great for people who vote in our elections to have a better understanding of how civics works, how, government works, how everything works, and unfortunately we do have a large group of people who fall into that bucket of, poorly educated folks that Donald Trump said that he loves after the 2016 Nevada primaries. It wouldn't be a good idea overall to have such a thing, because that would just be used and abused by racists to keep people from the polls in not even the right way. Like they would make up stupid tests that are impossible to answer. Like they would ask the trick questions, as Mona Lisa Vita would say. See, Chad is talking about Father Ted, British Irish TV show. I don't know if I've seen Father Ted. I need to perhaps check it out. There's another British show that one of my Irish friends did show me. in our writing class just to kind of give us some examples on different types of writing or whatever. And that show is freaking genius. It was brilliant. I loved it, but I can't remember the name of the show off the top of my head. So it would be a lot easier to set standards for holding office. That is also true. It would be much easier to set those standards for holding office. I used to think that we had a standard in this country that you couldn't be a felon and become president, but apparently I was wrong on that. Or maybe I flipped over from a different dimension where that was the rule and now it's not. I don't know. But one thing that a lot of people have said that I will co-sign, I will double down on, I will basically repeat this till I'm blue in the face at this point. If you could be a felon and be president of the United States, then the question of if you're a felon should be taken off of damn near every job application in this country. Simple as that. I can understand there might be some jobs where you still want to make sure that felons don't work, but then again, the president should be a job where a president shouldn't be able to work it. But yet, here we are, in 2 months and 2 weeks, we're going to have a felon sitting in the Oval Office. Congratulations, America. You done fucked up. I think this may very well be the most amount of curse words ever said on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, in any episode ever. Steve, what are you saying? Oh, for fuck's sake, what are you saying? And Kelly Anderson, I absolutely do agree with you. I can't believe that many people voted for him. Right. We have that many people in this country who are just absolutely, again, mind-numbingly stupid. After 20, my favorite retort to almost any MAGA person on Facebook trying to make some sort of claim that comes out being the dumbest thing I've ever heard, or one of them, always ends up being, this is why Donald Trump said that he loves the poorly educated after the 2016 Nevada primaries. I will throw that in their face every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Josh, can we swear here? I don't know if I'll get in trouble for swearing in chat. Big Hook, you're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome? You're welcome. Sorry. Jeff, fick yes. I've clearly been swearing today. I'm not going to begrudge anybody for swearing on this show, especially the day after Donald Trump won the presidential election. There should be lots of room for swearing. And they are cruel, and they have no empathy. Told another person that today, a friend of a friend, who was trying to say that people believed all of the things that were said about him being, a bad, evil, terrible person. I'm like, he literally is an anti-Semite. He literally is an anti-Semite and said anti-Semitic things. And the response to that was, well, Vice President Harris is also, or there are Democrats who are anti-Semitic too. Go F yourself. No. This is not, don't play that whataboutism crap against me. When I think it was Ilhan Omar said some things that were not sensitive to Jewish people, I flat out called her out, and I was more than happy to criticize her for spouting anti-Semitic things. But Vice President Harris was clearly not being anti-Semitic despite the lies saying otherwise. I mean, how are you, the one thing I would ask Trump supporters, that should have come up more often, and I just thought of it today. I should have thought of it before, but I'm disappointed in myself for not. But the thing is that a lot of times you'll say that Trump is an anti-Semite, and their immediate response will be, well, how could he be an anti-Semite? His daughter converted to Judaism, his son-in-law is Jewish, his grandkids are Jewish. That doesn't, marrying somebody that you're bigoted against doesn't automatically, magically make you stop being bigoted against that group. But what I would then flip back on them is say, well, look, you're saying that Vice President Harris is anti-Semitic. She's married to a Jewish guy. So that clearly is an example of her not being an anti-Semite. Boom. So, see, Garland bears blame. Biden does also for not replacing him year 2. Yeah, I mean, it should have happened more quickly. I don't know if they were thinking that it would be a better election issue to start the trial closer to the election to kind of push him to be out of the election. But Donald Trump is one of the luckiest sons of bitches on this planet because, again, he got Cannon in the pre-trial phase, and then he got Cannon in the regular trial phase. The odds of that happening are 1 out of 9. So he got lucky with that. He got lucky. Then he got the Supreme Court rulings in his favor. So it's all utterly absurd. And now, if they would have done it earlier, Cannon wouldn't have been able to cite Clarence Thomas on his I think it wasn't even his concurrence on that ruling. It was Clarence Thomas's dissent on whether or not the hypocritical doctors, or whatever that organization is called, could bring the lawsuit against challenging EMTALA. So basically, the Supreme Court said, we're punting this back because these people don't have standing to bring a lawsuit. And then Clarence Thomas said, nobody should have this clearance. Nobody should be able to do this because I disagree with X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z included, I think, Jack Smith. And then because of that caused Cannon to be able to say, Jack Smith, this is not a proper case. So says Clarence Thomas in his dissent. Now, I know Clarence Thomas likes to talk about and cite his own dissents and his own concurrences in his own rulings. It's like judicial masturbation, but citing a dissent and trying to make a judicial precedent in a lower court is just an absurd idea. Aaron, swearing in chat just make me work harder. I'm sorry, Aaron. Dean Baker, Ivanka knows nothing of the actual Jewish religion. I'm sure that's true. So. Oh, we got Wundermom over there. Wundermom had also asked how about pass the civics test to run for office. Wait, hold on. I completely missed a bunch of the Twitch stuff. Bull shits says, Dan, that was a really great response. I really appreciate your response. I have the best responses. Nobody has better responses. Welcome to 4 more years of that crap. But what was the response that you appreciated? Or the caller was a great response. Yeah, the Florida Amendment failed, which, of course, sucks. But it failed with 57% of the vote. See, I thought that came with the immunity ruling. I may be getting 1 or 2 of my immunity rulings combined. Maybe it did come with the immunity ruling. Maybe I'm confusing one with the other. You might be right. I could be wrong on that particular one. So, but yeah. Let's see. Construction carpenter for over 30 years. Guess I'm cussed out. I mean, how many times did you hammer your thumb instead of hammering the nail, and then you're like, ah. Of course, here comes I used a nail gun instead. But, See, Marshall he's in talks to wind down the investigation. That was CNN or NBC. Yeah, there's discussions about, again, winding down. I don't know why you need to wind down the investigations. I don't agree with that at all. It is the idea, the general principle or concept that you can't indict a sitting president. Donald Trump's not a sitting president. So therefore, you should be able to allow these cases to continue on their merits and then see what happens. I mean, we already have the New York case. Who knows what's going to happen in the New York case, whether or not they're going to give him prison time or not. I mean, they could take a cop out and say, okay, you have to be on an ankle monitor in Mar-a-Lago for 4 weeks or something. And so, he gets to sit around his house for 4 weeks during the transition. Boo-hoo. Stop saying 4 more years. We know he's all there until he dies, and then he's got the best health care in the world. They kept him alive this long. I mean, true. I mean, dictator at day one never gives up power. So there is that. Unless he, Wonder Mom and Twitch. I don't cuss. I use fucking sentence enhancers. Nice. We're at 10 o'clock. Show reset. Liberalland Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Mondays and Wednesdays here on liberaldandradio.com, which is the YouTube channel, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio to support the show. Remember to, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Like the video. If you haven't liked it yet, go look at the other videos. Like and share those. There'll be new videos coming up tonight. I think 2 that I made. One Fat Man Rant and one conversation about the sexism and the numbers. The numerical sexism that took place in the 2024 elections. Those 2 videos will be up. I'll probably make them go live in the morning. So if you see them in the morning, share them about. If you think they're good, share any of my videos that you find good with your friends to get them to come subscribe to the channel, boost the numbers up, get the algorithms going, because that's the only way we're going to grow. And we need to, now especially, we need to grow our liberal, leftist, progressive-leaning farm teams to be able to fight whatever it is that's coming our way. I mean, we needed it in the election cycle even more than ever. That didn't happen, but we absolutely 100% need to be able to have, your Hal Sparkses, your Majors, your Boston Bryans, your Dudes, Carbon, anybody else, Chuck or John, anybody else that I'm missing, I apologize for not, Metis or whatever. We need everybody, again, still all hands on deck when it comes to growing these shows, growing these podcasts, making them more popular across the board so that we can, fight against the tyrannical crap that's coming down the pipe. And Jenny Pie, thank you. I'm glad that I could help. I'm glad you liked the show, and I'm glad you came around and watched as well. Welcome to the BOYT. What does that stand for? Let's see. Mountain Lady, I despise any female or male who knows a female who voted for Donnie and against women's autonomy of her body. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, people are often always voting against their best interests. I mean, conservatives who collect welfare, food stamps, and other sorts of government assistance who are on Medicaid will vote for a person who wants to tank all those programs. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They're benefiting from these things. Yet they're gonna vote to kill them, shoot themselves in the foot, to kill those programs. But even worse is the people who are voting for a serial sexual abuser, someone who grabs people without their consent, somebody who is responsible for the loss of body autonomy and the ending of Roe versus Wade in this country, somebody who has said that if we listen to his words and believe it, and you should believe people when they tell you who they are. You don't necessarily believe his platform, but when he tells you who he is, i.e. that he believes that there should be some punishment for the woman who's getting an abortion, then by absolutely all means, if you're a woman voting for Donald Trump, then you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're basically preventing yourself from getting needed health care. Especially now that we have laws like in Texas and Louisiana where the government officials are going to prevent hospitals from saving your life until you're basically in sepsis or until the fetus totally miscarries. Because even though the fetus has failed, Ken Paxton in Texas has proved himself willing to step in and prevent any hospital, any clinic, anybody from performing abortions that are needed to help save the life of these people who are dealing with miscarriages that are taking normal or longer than a normal time. Because they don't care. It's not pro-life, it's evil. Evil, plain and simple. So, yeah, women voted again. Well, women voted for abortion. There are women who voted for abortion rights in Florida who still voted for Trump. That's the bizarre thing. Like, again, as I said in the little clip that I made earlier, you think that Vice President Harris isn't good enough for you, but yet you will vote for an abortion amendment that is only needed because of the person who you voted for president, i.e. Donald Trump. It's mind-numbingly stupid. But then again, Donald Trump, after the 2016 Nevada primaries, did say that he loves the poorly educated, and, well, they are trying to prove themselves worthy of his love time and time again. So, hysterectomy with complications fall under the ruling? Potentially. Potentially. They can't handle a female president or are racist. They're both. Why not both? Why not both? So Dean, I know a guy who got it all on public assistance. Then he then said he is a conservative Republican, right? Because he picked himself up by his bootstraps, right? No. Like when Obama came out and said, if you have roads and bridges, you didn't build that, somebody else made it happen, and then conservatives cried a fit because Barack Obama was spitting truth bombs at the conservatives who don't understand that, that's how taxes work. Oh, speaking of taxes, let's not forget that Donald Trump has said that he's going to impose a 200% tax on or import tax or tariff or whatever on goods coming to this country. And don't forget that you're all going to pay for that. Everybody gets to pay for that. It's not the countries that are paying for it, it's the consumers that are paying for it. And we all know that, but either Donald Trump's a effing moron or he knows that, and he knows that his supporters are effing morons, and as such, won't bother to fact check or won't believe any fact checks that come his way as it pertains to his tariff bullshittery. So I am getting drained. I think I was up a little late last night and I need to get some sleep. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call this episode an end. I do still have to upload those 2 videos, so I'll get to working on that while probably listening to Dude over there on his channel. But again, this is the end of today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right. We will be back, unless anything else huge happens that needs to be covered immediately. We will be back Monday, 8 p.m. Central Time here, liberaldanradio.com, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Follow me, Liberal Dan Radio, everywhere. Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook, Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, Liberal Dan Radio, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok as well. Thank you, Bill P., for re-upping your membership. Until next time, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.